space for a little bit. All right, so you can see this cookie. We have a lot of different dimensions, so I'm going to show you all sorts of techniques. I'm going to show you how I use the blue to make royal icing transfers. I'm going to show you how I use the blue to print on an icing sheet, how I print on wafer paper, make the bats, how I'm going to put it all together. So in order to make the cookie, I typically started with just basically flooding it. All right, so I flooded the back white, and then I have two different frames that I'm using. So this is the first one, which is a full frame. And then I also did it in parts. So these are the sides, and this is the top and the bottom ledge. And what you see here is I actually used parchment paper in order to create some texture onto these sides. So you can see I flooded it. I put the parchment paper right on top of it. And then that way it kind of created this wood grain texture. So when I go to print on it, in addition to having the wood pattern, it's also going to have wood texture. So it's just adding a little dimension. So I'll do that a lot of times when I'm creating sets just to add a little bit of variety. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move us over to the device. So I'm going to place these things on the device. We're going to go over to the blue, and I'm going to show you, hopefully.
Am I blue?
Hold on, I'm going to do this first.
Okay.
I'm going to have to change. I've got to find my magnet on my iPad so it'll stick. It's not doing it. All right, well, I'm going to have to hand hold it. Sorry, everybody, for the bad film angle. But basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to place that bigger cookie on the first pattern, which you can see. And then I'm going to place the sides and the back. So this is one of the sides. This is another one of the sides. And I just kind of pick the pattern that I like. And then this is the bottom part, the bottom cookie. And then we'll come over here and get the top arch. And I sort of place it where I like wood grain. And then I created a special little pattern for this one. There we go. Where I actually created. Yeah, Jill, what's your question?
Jill wants to know did you make the cookie cutter 3D too?
I made the cookie cutter. So what I'm going to give you today as a free gift is you're going to get this background cutter. So this is a cutter. You're going to get this window frame cutter. And then I'm also going to give you the ones that are in pieces, which is the two sides and the edge and the arch. So yes, I made all of those as STL files, and I made all of them so that you could that they're 3D printed. So once I have my things lined up on the printer, I usually line it up, make sure that the head doesn't hit anything. Having to hold this and do this at the same time. There you go. And then I just hit print. So I would print all of those together. Okay, all of those, I'm not going to print, but all of those would be printed, and I would have a whole set where they're printed. So I'm going to show you what they look like when they're all done and printed. I'll come back over here, and hopefully everybody has motion sickness now. We'll have a background of just stone, and then we have the bottom piece, and then the two side pieces. And this one broke, of course. And then I have the top arch piece. And we'll put those together in a little bit, and I'm going to show you how we're going to put those together. So to create the cookie itself, I printed the two sides, the arch, and the bottom piece, and I printed all of them on my blue, and I printed all of them at the same time. So you can see if I was printing this, I've got 4 different images, lots of different cookies, lots of different patterns, and I could print all of those at the same time. So everybody kind of figure out that piece. So the next part that I'm going to do is I'm actually going to show you. I'm not printing it because I've already pre-printed. the other pieces of this cookie. So another piece of this cookie is actually the transfer. So I want to show you a really cool way that I do royal icing transfers. And I'm going to see if I can get this to stick. I'm going to do this way for now. I apologize, guys. So I'm going to grab my cake board. So how I make royal icing transfers is I actually put a cake board onto my print bed. So I actually put my cake board on there, and I'm actually going to tape it to secure it, and then I actually print on it. And I print the royal icing transfers that I want to make. And that way, the reason I print on the cake board is because I can pick it up very easily and take it with me and come over here and actually put it down and very easily ice my royal icing transfers right onto this cake board. So I'm going to show you how I do that. So you can see I have my royal icing transfer. And I take my flood and my piping. So I have some piping, and I'm only going to do 2 of them. Oh, maybe I'll do more. There. Can you see them all? Yeah, you can see all 4. So basically, I've taken that, and then I just outline with piping consistency, and I'm at my desk. So I don't have to lean over the blueprint bed. I don't have to worry about messing it up because I'm going to put it right back in the place where I found it. And then I'm going to be able to print on these really, really easily. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what I do. I'm going to just do these 2. I always use piping consistency to outline because then my flood consistency won't go over the edges and it won't crater. And then I also make sure that I'm exactly fitting the edge of the royal icing transfer so that the image will print it directly on it. And again, the reason I use the cake board is it's easy to move these royal icing transfers around. I know they're not going to bend or break. And I can actually stick them directly under a fan. And if I cut my board small enough, I can actually fit it in my dehydrator. So I've made my royal icing transfers. I'm only going to do 2. I'm going to shake this up.
So those are you just printed the image below it and then basically piped over top so you knew where to put the icing, correct?
Exactly. So I basically printed on the cake board. I put a cello bag on top, and I taped it to the sides. And then I just put it like this. And then when I'm ready to print on it, I can just put it back on the print bed. But I'm going to go ahead and we're going to print something else. I let this dry. So I'm actually going to take a little fan and I'm going to blow on those so they dry a little bit before I print on them.
And your piping,
what did you
use to make your icing?
Oh, my icing? Yeah, I use, so I actually use a Franken frosting recipe. So this is a piping consistency, and I always note my piping consistency bags with a tag. And then these are my flood consistencies, and those don't have a tag. And I use a Franken frosting recipe, and I use for my meringue powder, I use Fluff'n Stuff. And so I use about 7 tablespoons of Fluff'n Stuff in my Franken frosting recipe. And a Franken frosting recipe is different than royal icing because it's a mixture of a glaze and royal icing. And I like it because I have more movement with it. It has a little bit of a softer bite. It's shiny because it has a little bit of corn syrup in it. Even though Fluff'n Stuff has cornstarch solids, my Franken frosting has a little bit of corn syrup solids. It has a little corn syrup in it as well. And I love it. It works really well. It's a nice recipe. People like the way it tastes. And I use a little of almond extract in my icing as well, which helps too. Any other questions about icing? I'm going to try and I keep trying to try my phone. Okay, I'm going to try joining my phone again to see if I can get this going correctly so I can show you some things when I print. So Stacy, hopefully you'll accept me in with my phone. I'm in. Oh, yes, I'm in.
On the phone again.
Yes, we're on the phone.
To be on the phone again.
All right, so
Welcome everybody on YouTube as well.
All right, so switch to my phone, Stacy. Can you switch to my phone? Nope.
Oh,
yes.
Hold on. Bear with us 1 second, guys. They're working on it. They're almost there. So
thank you, everybody. Patient.
Other things while they work on this, I think. Who here has
my
tried
phone
Fluff?
is. Yeah, go ahead.
You're fine. Just you guys work on it, and he's going to bring you right up as soon as you're ready.
Okay.
I'm guessing that she got kicked off and has to come back on, so it'll be just a second. Yeah, my computer did this before we came on. So it happens. We're all good, but you definitely want to hang tight because she's got so much to show, and her work is exquisite.
All right,
here we are.
We're back. All right, cool. So now I'm going to let those dry. You can see I have a little fan on them. And I'm going to come back over here because I want to show you. There we go. Now I'm back. Yay, I'm feeling so much better now that I'm back. Okay, so I want to show you that your blue doesn't have to just print on cookies. So one of the things that I included in this set is the actual center image. And the actual center image, I used an icing sheet from Icing Images. So this is actually an icing sheet, and I don't put any extra paper on it. And you'll notice that I have the Emerald Tech Brewer's Guides. This is an amazing guide. Hopefully you can see the guide on it. And I have the center guide. And when I use icing sheets, all I have to do is clip the icing clips right here. And then I add just a little piece of tape on the back end. And then I add a little bit of tape here. And that's it. And then I'm able to print on my icing sheet. And I like this because I don't want to have, on my image, you'll notice on my brick, I had bricks on my cookie, and then I had an image in the center of it. And this was the easiest way that I knew I could get an image onto my cookie without having to create a special image for both the brick and the icing sheet together. So that was my kind of resolution, was to use an icing sheet. And this is actually one of the thin icing sheets. They have thin ones and they have thick ones. So I'm going to just show you real quick how nice it is to print on those icing sheets. So it'll print pretty quickly. But basically all I'm doing is putting the icing sheet on the print bed. I make sure that my platform is all the way up, and I have my images ready to go. And icing sheets are really easy to use because all you have to do is cut them to size, and then you pull off the protective backing, and then you can adhere it to wet icing, or you can add a little bit of icing to it in order to attach it to your cookies. So I'm going to just print this image real quick for you. Any questions right now?
As the owner, everybody names their printers, which is awesome. And of course, Dr. Susie named hers Cindy Lou Blue. Pretty amazing. Do you know when the October? Oh, it's a September shipment, sweetie. It's coming late September, and I believe we are already sold out of Little Blues. do have a good amount of BBs and XLs, and we do have megas, but most people here won't want that. They're all coming in late September, I believe. Isn't there a song about late September 1963? Oh, you're getting one. Awesome. Sure. Stone of the cookie that's printed or icing sheet. So did you see Joanne a question? She wants to know if that printed the stone is printed on the cookie directly or on the icing sheet first.
So I printed the stone directly on the cookie. So you can kind of see it right here. It's actually directly on the cookie. So I printed on the stone first. So I printed all of the stones and the outlines and everything before I went and printed this image. And I'm going to show you how I put everything together once we put together all the elements. What I'm doing for you now is showing you how I made all the elements.
That's really awesome. The stone is beautiful.
Yeah, that was a really nice image that I generated on AI. So I do a lot of my images that I create on AI. So every image that we're working with today, I actually created on AI, and I put in a prompt and I kind of told it what I was looking for, and that's how I was able to get kind of the colors to be all cohesive and sort of match the tone of the images that I was looking for. So AI is an amazing tool. I use it every day in my cookie business, but also in my work life. And I find that it makes so many things so much easier. So it's really awesome. It's almost done.
Michelle has a question. She's never used icing sheets, and she wants to know if they have a taste.
Oh yeah, they taste good. You can talk more about that. Yeah, they have vanilla taste.
It's a light vanilla taste.
I like to use the thin sheets because if I'm putting it on cookies, they're not very thick. And I'll show you how thin the thin sheets are. They're pretty impressive compared to the normal ones. I printed both, so you can see the size of both. Because they have, there's regular sheets, and then Icing Images has thin as well. So I find that when I'm working with cookies or if I'm using them for drink toppers, I actually use the thins. I don't use the thicker ones. So I'll show you, I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but I'll show you the difference between the two. So this is actually a thin. Can you see the thin? It's pretty thin.
Oh, yeah.
And then this is, there's the thicker ones. So there is a slight difference between the two.
And the thin is still on.
Yeah, the thin is this one. Yes, this is the thins. And then this is the thicker one, the thicker paper. And I really like the thins. I use the thins, but I printed on both so you could see both. And both work well. Both of them have the same function. Both of them are great. Both of them do great colors. They're pretty nice. Pretty, and they take the ink well. They hold their color. They're easy to work with. I really, really, really like the icing sheets. They're awesome. And then the next component, you ready to go on to the next component, or does anybody have any more questions about icing sheets?
We do. So Kelly, okay, before Kelly, Donna had asked if you use ChatGPT for that, for the image.
Yeah, so I do a mixtures of things. So yes, I do use ChatGPT. I use ChatGPT often to create my prompts, and then I will use a program like Midjourney or Adobe Express. I have a bunch of different sites that I use to generate my images. And in fact, I did a live a while back. If you go through my YouTube channel, you'll see my live, and I talk all about how to generate images and write prompts and what the essential parts of a prompt are. So,
okay,
all right.
And then we have one more. Sorry, Kelly asked, do you use the thin icing sheets for drink toppers?
Yes, I use the thin icing sheets for drink toppers.
Gotcha.
And I like it because, well, the reason I use them is I don't mind if they melt. And they're going to melt anyway, so they melt fast. Because sometimes people want to drink their drink fast. So that's why, especially with champagne toasts and things. So I do use the thinner ones. So the next part that I'm going to show you is the bat that we made, the wafer paper bats. So this is wafer paper. I know you've seen lots of lives with wafer paper. There's a shiny side and there's a bumpy side. I actually used the bumpy side for this project. And when you use wafer paper to make bats or cutouts or different things, a lot of people will just use an airbrush. And they'll airbrush on their wafer paper, and then they'll use their machine or scissors to cut out the images. I'm lazy, so I basically used Procreate and airbrushed on a square on Procreate, and then I just put my paper here, and I actually just printed on it. So I actually had a piece of wafer paper, and I can show you. This is my wafer paper, and I actually just printed on it. And now I'm going to use my edible Cricut from Icing Images, which is the most incredible machine on the planet. And I'm going to come over here and show you something else. So basically what I did was I attached my wafer paper to my Icing Images sheet with blue painter's tape, because blue painter's tape is good and food safe and you can use it. And I basically preloaded bats on my Cricut design space, and basically it very easily and very quickly will cut out for me a bunch of bats. And it's a really easy way to add dimension and texture to your cookies or your cakes or anything. So I will use my Cricut direct to print and cut. So you can use your glue if you have an edible Cricut. You can actually do printing to your glue, and you can actually print directly to the Cricut, and it'll cut out what you print on your glue. And I'm going to urge Stacy to do a live on printing on the glue and then cutting on your Cricut, because I think it's the most amazing thing on the planet. Any questions about that?
Not so far. I think I got you up to date.
Okay, so this is an incredible process. I'm really excited that I got this. I actually use it for a lot of my designs and a lot of things that I create. When you want to have a wafer sheet of paper with, like on a tombstone, with text and things, adding labels to things, it's just a really nice tool that I use that creates some fun items that are precisely cut that I can add to my cookies. So there are a lot of companies Incredible will have pre-cut wafer paper that they offer for sale. And then I just create my own. So I do have a non-food Cricut. So I do have a maker, which is right here, right there. You can see it. There's my non-food one. So I only use food items on this one. It is strictly for food. And you can see it did a great job. It cut out these cute little bats. Super precise. I would never have been able to, with my scissors, cut something like that. So it was pretty awesome. I'm going to take you back over here. And we're going to do the second part. We're going to finish with our royal icing transfers. I'm going to come back over here, and I'm going to show you how I do this. So I'm actually going to bring my platform out. And take my cake board and line it up exactly where I had it before. So I lined it right on the edge. And I'm going to take my painter's tape. We're good on questions still? I'm lining it up so it's right back where it was. I have to tell you, Stacy, these guides and pieces that you used and created have helped me so much when realigning papers or realigning things that I have to take on and off the printer. It's incredible. I love them. They've saved me so much. So great. So I'm just securing it down so it won't pop up.
We got to get you the. Oh, you have the clips. Oh, I see what you're doing. Never mind.
I don't. It's too thick to use the clips on this one.
Yeah.
So I did, but I do use the clips all the time. I have a little container under my printer where I keep all my clips so that I don't lose them, because I lose things all the time. So it keeps me organized. All right, so I'm really kind of just aligning my print head to make sure that my royal icing transfers aren't going to hit the print head. I like to make sure I get it nice and close. And I know that it's not going to hit because I pull it all the way over. I bring it in. And I bring it all the way back. And I'm looking at it and we're clear. So we're good to go. So I'm going to click my transfers and I'm going to print. Any questions about royal icing transfer?
Jill was asking, and I think you may have covered it. I just want to make sure. Can you use the Cricut for non-food too? And she goes on to say, like, make a T-shirt for that which matches your cookie. Not that you wouldn't want to do that right now, but as an example.
So I could make a T-shirt that matches my cookie, but I would use it on my other Cricut machine. I wouldn't use it on this one. I would use it on a different one. So you have to make sure that when you cut on your Cricut, that's your edible food paper Cricut, you're only using it for food. You don't use it for anything else. Everybody can see that okay?
Awesome. Yeah, we're good.
Cool. This for me is the easiest way to make royal icing transfers. In my mind, it keeps it super simple. And I don't know where I put my other backup royal icing transfers, so this will be fun. We'll see how this goes today. I found it. Yeah, and I like using the cake board because I don't have to hover over the blue as I'm kind of piping on where I want to place the royal icing transfers. And because I have guides that Stacey has provided, it's really easy to know exactly where to place it, and it does a really good job.
Hey, everybody. Hey, Don. Thanks for joining us. Kelly said she just made her first royal icing transfers that way about a week ago. Congratulations, Kelly.
Nice. I love that. Okay, we're back over here. So hopefully everybody's ready. All right, so you saw my royal icing transfers. So this is one of them that I made previously. And you can see lined up really easy. The good thing about the printer is it's all lined up. The cake board I can now put into my dehydrator and let it fully dry. It's pretty fun. All right, so let's put together this cookie. So I have all of my components that we worked on together. So I have my image that we printed on the icing sheet. I still have the backing on it. I haven't peeled it yet. I have the side pieces. I have the bottom piece. I have the top piece and the cookie. And all of these were printed directly on the cookie with icing on the blue printer. Another piece of material that I'm going to use is actually this stuff that's called Bling Highlighter. It's the Black Moonstone. And I actually take the Black Moonstone and I mix it with Paper Potion. So I have Paper Potion right here. And I was using it earlier. I mix a little of the paper potion, and then I kind of mix it with the blue, the moonstone or whatever it's called. And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to paint the edges real quick of the cookie because I'm wanting it to look a little weathered. So wherever there's an edge, I'm just going to add a little bit of this. And I use this color because it kind of matches the concrete and the wood color that I used on the cookie of the image. So I just very quickly paint around the edges like this. I've already done it on my main cookie. You can see it here. Black moonstone is what it's called. That's the color, black moonstone. It kind of has a little bit of a shiny silver look to it. It's pretty cool. Looks nice with this. So basically I'm just kind of painting around the edges. And the reason I'm doing this is when I finally put the cookie together, and I'll show you on the finished cookie, it'll give time for these to dry. It makes it so that the cookie doesn't stand out because it's three-dimensional, you're going to see parts of the cookie, and you want to make sure that all the parts that you can see look like they're finished in some way. And I'll show you something else that I did before I printed with this cookie. You'll notice that I did a little bit of icing on the top, and then I just printed directly on it. I did that on the top piece, and I did that also on the bottom piece. So it kind of made it look a little bit more like wood or sculpted wood. So you can add texture before you print as well. And you can see on these cookies that I painted all these edges, and I painted them so that it would look like it's still part of the whole piece. All right, so I've painted my edges, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to attach my image. So I peel off the back. Hopefully I do this nicely. There we go. So I've peeled off the back, and I'm actually going to put a little bit of icing on it because I want to attach it. And then I'm actually going to use my paintbrush. And I use my paintbrush to kind of smear it around. You don't need much icing. It just needs, I kind of act like a little bit of Elmer's glue and make sure I get it on the edges. I don't want too much because I don't want it to crinkle or lump or anything. So I'm putting that on. And then I'm just going to kind of carefully attach it to my cookie. Flatten it out a little bit. That's step one. And then for my top part, I'm going to do the top part first, and I'm just using piping consistency, and I'm using black. I may have to cut this open a little more. The detail, yes, I see the detail on the cookies. That's what's so great about the blue is I can get so much detail on my cookies. It really is an amazing printer that just allows you to get such great detail. So I've attached that first part. It's also your images. You have to think about the images that you want to use, and then you kind of play with your machine. Everybody's machine is their own ecosystem, so you kind of have to play around with it in order to determine what saturation levels you want. And you can really create some vibrant prints. I'm also using the Vibrant ink, the new ink, and it prints beautifully. All right.
We've been talking, we're going to do some lives for those blue owners that are on our blue owners group. I don't have a date yet, but we'll get it up and going on saturation so you can learn more about color and how to really get the most out of your printer.
All right, so I have all my pieces together, and I'm not too worried about these edges because I'm going to add some details to it that kind of help. So I'm going to add my royal icing transfer first, and I'm just going to kind of put it on this corner, and it's sort of hiding that spot. So that's my piece there. And then I'm going to add my wafer paper bats. So I have a whole bunch of wafer paper bats. You can see them all right here. And I have fat fingers, so it's hard for me to place them nicely. So I always use tweezers, and I've kind of bent these up a little bit so they're sort of bendy. And I just put a little bit of icing on the back, and I'm using black because if it oozes out, I'm okay with that. And I'm going to just put one there, and you just kind of decide. And I have different sizes. So I have this teeny tiny little bat over here. Look how cute and tiny he is. Might do a tiny one. And again, I'm just kind of bending it up. Again, putting a dollop of icing on it. And I'll put him right here. And they stick so easily. I mean, it's so nice. And you can add as many as you want. I kind of did it in line. You can see the bats in the image sort of coming out. So the reason I put them on this side is so they look like they're flying out of the frame or flying into the frame. Just kind of add some dimension there. Might even add one. I have a crack in my wood right here. I could add one there, but you just kind of have to think about what you want it to look like, and you can add them really anywhere you want. And again, super easy to make because I use wafer paper. Every single thing on this cookie is edible. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create some dimension on this side. So I'm actually going to do a blob of white flood. This is flood consistency. And I'm actually going to paint it a little bit. And the reason I'm doing this is spider webs are not completely transparent. So this is kind of creating a background a little bit for my spider web. So I always put a little bit of background around my spider web. And then I'm thinking, okay, how do I want it to work? And I'm kind of using my cookie as a guide. And I start in this corner, and I'm going to do one over the edge. I'm going to have one go this way, I think. Maybe one this way. And again, I'm using piping consistency. And I'm using the whole cookie. So I'm even going to go down there across the edge of the cookie like that. And then I'm just going to start adding the piping on. And again, when you use that piping consistency, it'll hold its shape. So you can actually go across gaps, and it'll really hold its shape nicely. And I'll show you when I finish piping. And if this dries, you could actually add a luster dust of that black moonstone, and it probably has some shimmer to it. So you can see I kind of went over the edge. I'm creating, you know, it even with the gap, because of the stiffness of the icing, makes it looks like it's kind of going over the whole frame. There, add spots again. See?
That is amazing.
Not fun.
I mean, it's just I'm speechless.
Good. And then you can add whatever you want. I'm going to add some spiders. I'm just adding some black dots for spiders. And then if I wanted to go back with an edible marker, I could take a Tweets marker. I have a brush tip marker. And in order to get lines, I'm actually just going to draw the lines with a marker if I want. You can use a marker. You can use royal icing, whatever you want to kind of create spiders along that edge. I did that with the other one. I actually used royal icing to create the legs. I don't know if you can see that or not.
Joe wanted to know if you used Flex Frost for the web as well.
I did not. That's royal icing, but you could. You could very easily use Flex Frost. You could very easily use Flex Frost for that. But I just used royal icing made from Fluff'n Stuff. So again, this is showing you what I can do with my Franken frosting recipe, in which I use Fluff'n Stuff as my meringue powder. So like I said, I like to create Franken frosting because I feel like it has more flexibility. I feel like I can use it for more creative things, and it really works for me.